Before I begin, I want to say this. I've been through quite a few things, man, in my life. You know, and I don't mind, telling stories about what I've been through, especially when it's going to definitely educate the youth. So, if you like this video, at the end, let me know and I'll tell more stories, about my life and the things that I've been through. All right. Put it in the comment section of this video and let me know if you like it or not, and if you want me to do more. Okay? Excuse me. Let's begin. So, I've definitely told this story before, but I've never told it in depth. You understand? Like, I've never started from the very beginning and what led up to me being, pistol whipped. You understand? So I'm going to definitely talk about that, and you can see how it all came to play of why things went the way that they went, as far as me getting pistol whipped. So I was part of this organization, or rather should I say cult, calling the Wabian Nation, right, in my early 20s. We had a bookstore in Durham, North Carolina, and Monday through Friday we would have the bookstore open from 11 to 5, and then Monday through Saturday 11 to 5, and then on Sunday classes was 1 through 6. Question and answer classes. So basically throughout the course of the week there'll be one person in the bookstore, and the rest of the members, such as myself, we will go out and hustle, right? In the very beginning, the members were reluctant, because I was the last one to become a member of that Durham bookstore, were very reluctant to put me on to the bootleg movies. Now, for those, I understand that are listening to this video, I'm going to explain bootleg movies, cassette, dollar tapes, and all the rest of that stuff, so you all can get an understanding. So this is the early 90s, right? So we were selling bootleg movies, which were VHS tapes, right? They were about this big, right? And then we had this thing called, it's crazy I'm talking about this. We had this thing called a VCR, right? So you will put the VHS tapes inside the VCR and push play, and that would be the movie, right? The dollar tapes were these cassette tapes. So take, for example, if let's say The Baby, right, came out with an album, he would come out with a cassette tape in the 90s, right? And we would put it in a cassette tape, or we had a cassette tape in our car and we would play them, so those would be dollar tapes. So they were reluctant to put me on to the movie game, but they definitely put me on to the dollar tapes and the regular mixtapes like DJ Clue, Green Lantern, what else? Tony Touch. What's the dude that's with the Breakfast Club? DJ Envy. He was putting out mixtapes as well, back then. And a couple other people, right? So in the very beginning, I would sell, dollar tapes, mixtapes, oils, incense. And, we all would go, some of us had spots that we would go to, like storefronts, places in front of a corner store, or a gas station, a Chinese food restaurant, and others, such as myself, that didn't have a spot, we would hit up projects, right? So I would go through the projects making money, and that's how I paid my rent. And then at the end of the week, we would have turn-in for the bookstore, and I had to pay $100 each week to the bookstore, right? So make a long story short, the Durham bookstore got closed, and I wound up moving to Raleigh, right? And in Raleigh, man, it was a little bit more better. It's more city in Raleigh than Durham. And one of the members put me on to the bootleg movies. So to make the long story short, I would go up to New York and get bootleg movies and stuff like that. And it was a crew of us. We worked as a team. Even though we, made our separate money, we all would go out at the same time and, hustle in the same spots, And man, I ain't gonna lie, man. At that time, that was I ain't never seen that amount of money, at that time, in my life. I was making like $400 or $500, like going out, once or twice out of the week. I'm not lying, So especially like on holidays, 4th of July, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and all of that. I mean, those were like $600 days, if not more. So to make the long story short, Raleigh became oversaturated. You had Africans that was moving down there, and then they eventually, took over the flea market that was down there, and they were selling oils, incense, dollar tapes, bootleg movies, pocketbooks, clothes, pants, shirts, all of that stuff, and they were cutting our prices. So take, for example, somebody such as myself, if I was going out there to the projects and I was selling my movies for $10, at the flea market you can get it for $7. You understand? So they were cutting our prices, and they oversaturated Raleigh. So I said to myself, I'm gonna have to make another move somewhere else, right? Elsewhere. Excuse me. So I had a friend that went to North Carolina A&T at the time, located in Greensboro, North Carolina. I got in touch with him, and I was like, hey man, listen, can I come out there with you, to chill with you for a couple of days and just to get a feel of Greensboro or whatever. He was like, cool, yeah man, just come up here, So I wound up going up there. I stayed with him for a couple of days. I think it was for a week. And as he would go to school, in the mornings and the afternoons or whatever have you, whatever his classes were, he would drop me off in projects. There were some projects right off of right up the street from not up the street from A&T, but the opposite way. Right off of East Market, there used to be some projects. I think they bulldozed them down now. Used to be some projects over there. Then it was a little bit of projects off of Summit Avenue. And then there was some projects like right by the Coliseum, like on Florida Street, if I'm not mistaken. And he used to drop me off, right? He would drop me off throughout that week. And I'm not lying, man. I decided that I wanted to live in Greensboro because I made a decent amount of money while I was there. And there wasn't too many people out there hustling at that time. You understand? So, I talked to him. I said, hey, listen, man, you mind if I, stay here for a couple of months or whatever have you? I'll pay you rent or whatever you want me to pay. And he was like, man, that's not a good idea because my brother's here. His brother went to North Carolina A&T as well. And my brother's here. He's my roommate. And then, my mother is paying for the apartment. And I don't want to mess up the sweet deal that he got. And I was like, damn, I really didn't even know that. Like, this man is going to college. His mom is paying for him to go to college, and his mom is paying for the apartment. All he has to do is get him a job to pay for, like, at that time, cell phones were just coming in. You understand? I think Cricket was like the cheaper, place to go to or whatever, right? So that's all he had to do was pay his cell phone bill. So I was like, all right, cool, man. So it's crazy because in the same apartment complex that he lived in, it was this girl that I used to, we be keeping it real, right? All right, cool. This is a girl I used to fuck a couple years ago. Me and her, we still were cool. We didn't keep in contact with one another, but I bumped into her and she went to North Carolina A&T. And she, she heard my story or whatever have you. And she was like, yo, you can sleep on my couch until you get yourself situated, right? So, for about 3-4 days, I went out hustling, and the girl that she allowed me to stay with her rent free for a couple of days. She knew a property manager at this other apartment complex that wasn't so nice. It was kind of like hood. It was right off East Cone Boulevard, if I'm not mistaken, in Greensboro. And she was like, yo, listen, the apartment complex ain't that great, but I understand that you trying to get on your feet and you looking for somewhere to stay. Hey, and you want to stay in Greensboro? Hey, why don't you mess with this place? You know what I'm saying? I could get you in. And of course, she was a woman about her word. I got in. I didn't have at that point in time. I didn't have rental history. I didn't have any credit. I didn't have any check stubs because I didn't work anywhere. You know what I'm saying? I hustled. So I get inside the apartment, and I'm working myself up. I wound up finding a spot like right down the street from where I lived at, and the spot was sweet because it had a Pizza Hut, a gas station, a dollar store, a rent-a-center, a nail shop, a barber shop, a Chinese food restaurant, Big Lots, and a grocery store called Winn-Dixie. So I wind up talking to this Chinese dude that owned the Chinese food restaurant, and I was telling him, what I sold and what I did or whatever have you. He was like, yeah, you could come set up. So I set up a table, put my bootleg movies up there, and next thing you know, I was making money. I did pretty good for myself, especially on the weekends, and I had everything somewhat figured out. You understand? I bumped into this dude that I was, I got real cool with from Brooklyn, that stayed in the same apartment complex that I stayed in, but he stayed with his mother and I lived by myself. He used to work at this place, this mall that was right across the street from where we lived at, this highway. I forgot what highway it was, where we lived at, and it was a mall that was closing, and in the mall it was Dillard's. He used to work for Dillard's, and he used to get 50% off. Plus they were closing. So say for example, if a polo shirt was $50, he'll get it for me, and the polo shirt will be $25 plus the 25 off for far as dealing with him working there, and then there was another percentage off of a markdown. So I would get the shirt for like $10. So I had to hook up on the clothes. I had my own spot, like selling movies and shit, and I had my own spot, like my own house. You know what I'm saying? It was like a townhome. Things were going good. Make long story short, my man from Brooklyn, that was where he was from, that worked at the mall, he wound up leaving and moving to South Carolina with his grandmother. My man that I was cool with from North Carolina A&T, he wound up moving back to his mom's house in Durham, North Carolina. And I was just up there by myself. So I want to run into a chick that was fresh out of Harlem, Spanish Harlem, New York, right? Black chick. She used to come up to the spot all the time. She would talk to us, because, right in front of the Chinese, right beside the Chinese food restaurant, there was a barbershop, and she would talk to the barbers and the people that were in the barbershop or whatever have you. We wound up getting real cool, and eventually, we went out, and then, sooner than later, of course, a couple spliffs and, some liquor later, we fucking. So I ain't gonna lie, she had my nose all open. I was pussy whipped. I missed days, working out there, on the spot, on weekends where I was supposed to make the bulk of my money. I was missing those days. So, excuse me, eventually, the water got cut off in the apartment. And then I had to start buying like gallons of water to put the water in the toilet in order to flush it. I had to buy gallons of water in order to pour it inside a big pot and put it on top of the stove to heat it up, to pour it in the tub, to walk upstairs and pour it in the tub to take baths. And then eventually, they put a big ass sign on the door that said the house is condemned because you cannot live in a house, apartment, townhome without running water. And they told me that it would be against the law for me to, go inside the house. And of course, I disobeyed that shit like a motherfucker. And then after that, the eviction notices came to the point where I was evicted. And, the girl that I was fucking, she was like, yo, I understand, things ain't right, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yo, listen, me and you, we cool, but I'm going back to New York to stay with my father. Fuck this. Plus, I had an eviction on my credit. And for those that know, when you have eviction on your credit, it falls off after 7 years. You understand? So I had to wait 7 years for that to go off. She was like, yo, listen, well, what I'm going to do is I'll get an apartment in my name and we can live together. Now, I already had got out of a previous relationship where I lived with this one broad for about 2 years, and it didn't work out right. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to do that. She insisted, and the pussy was good, and I fell for it, and we wound up moving in together in the same apartment complex that I got kicked out of. Right? The spot was getting a little low. Wasn't as much traffic as it used to be. So I wound up, going to the projects, hustling in the projects. One day I ran into this dude that was at a gas station right off of West Market Street. His name was Jonah. Some of those that look at Cartoon Network, most of the black cartoons that's on Cartoon Network, such as, Black Dynamite and Freaknik and all of these black cartoons that you see, Yona, which his real name is Carl Jones, he has executive produced it. You know what I'm saying? He's worked for the Boondocks and a couple other black cartoons that you see on Cartoon Network. You know what I'm saying? I ran into him. At the time, he wasn't doing any of that. He was just hustling, bootleg movies, and he was Nubian as well, right? So Sooner than later, we got real tight, and we used to go out, and he had a van, excuse me. And we used to go out and we hit up High Point, Winston-Salem, and other areas in and around Greensboro. So he used to, like pick me up and drop me off, right? So one day, as I was coming out to get in the car with him, it's this dude named, I'm gonna call him Big Bro. Big Bro comes out of his house, right? So I had been at the apartment complex, probably about a week, a little over a week. So I'm new to the area. He knows this, Big Bro that is. He's never seen my face. He's not, he's like, trying to figure, who I am, right? So he comes up to me, he's like, he introduces himself, blah, 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 blah. We start chit-chatting or whatever. I'm walking to the van. Next thing you know, lo and behold, he knows Yona, right? They start chit-chatting. Then I start finding out that this man is a Nubian too, Big Bro that is. And he used to have a bookstore that Yona was a part of, right? So we all Nubians in this shit, right? And we all talking about, the master teacher and this and that, so forth, and blah, 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 right? Now, the master teacher was out, and at that time, they call him the master teacher, Dr. York, the cult leader, was out at that time. The land located in Edenton, Georgia, that was still existing at that time. And, we were just talking about going back and forth and all of that stuff. They had a bookstore in Winston-Salem, but the Greensboro bookstore was closed, the Raleigh bookstore and the Durham bookstore was closed in North Carolina, right? So we chit-chatting and whatever. Next thing you know, Big Bro is like, yo, I gotta go. I get in the car with Yona. We drive off. Yona says, hey, don't fuck with that dude right there. That motherfucker is crazy. When we were in the bookstore, he ran a train on this ex-member's chick. And, he had us doing weird shit because he was in control of the bookstore, like drinking and all the rest of that shit. And I'm like, all right, cool. No doubt. Say no more. I'll stay away from the motherfucker, right? Even though he was like he lived 2 doors, down from me, right? So we go out hustling, right? And then I come back home, and my girl says, as she was getting out of the car, prior to me coming home, as she was getting out of the car, out of the taxi cab, she had groceries. So she's taking the groceries in the house. Big Bro offers to, put the groceries in the house. And she was like, she didn't mean, she didn't think nothing about it. So he's helping her. Next thing you know, he steps in the house and he sees a bookshelf, right? And it has all the Dwight York's books, also known as Dr. Malachi York, Amanubi Rock Bata, Afrotia Toon Ray. This motherfucker got 1,000 names, you know what I'm saying? But I will say cult leader, you know what I'm saying? The cult leader's books, because I read the doctrine. And he starts building on, Big Bro that is, starts building on the books, right? And she's telling me, the girl that that I was seeing at the time, she's telling me that Big Bro that is coming up with this doctrine, and he's forming this organization. She's telling me that he's talking a whole lot of space cadet shit that she didn't want to hear, right? And I'm listening to it, and I'm saying to myself, oh, this motherfucker trying to get pussy. That plain and simple. So now I'm upset, right? So I let the day pass by, whatever have you, and I seen him again. We had a conversation. I didn't even bring the shit up because I ain't want no beef or no shit like that. I'm in Greensboro. I'm by myself. The only person that I know at that time is Yona. This man right here, Big Bro, throughout the course of the days, the week, I'm seeing, traffic, him, having different people come in and out of his house. And it's a bunch of them motherfuckers, right? So I'm like, I'm going to let the shit go, right? So we have a chit chat. And he starts talking some space cadet shit like Dr. York is going to die and, he's going to take over the organization. Some crazy shit, right? So I'm like, you know what? I'm out, man. I can't do it. I didn't say it like that, but I was like, yo, I got to go, right? So once again, I'm going out back and forth, hustling with Yona or whatever have you. One night, I get back and I think it was earlier than I normally get back. I got back home at like 7. I was supposed to get back home at 9, right? So I get a knock on the door at like 7, and I'm looking at my girl like, who the fuck is this? I'm thinking, what's up? So it's him, Big Bro. He's like, yo, can I talk to your girl for a minute? I'm like, what the fuck you need to talk to her for? He's like, yo, man, don't, I ain't trying to, get at her, nothing like that. I just got, my pamphlets that I want to give her. I'm like, yo, anything you got for her, you can give to me, right? So I take the pamphlets. It's some crazy shit, some doctrine he came up with or whatever have you. And he's like, yo, give it to her. I was like, all right, cool. Slam the door. He knocks on the door again. I'm like, yo, what's up, man? What the fuck? He's like, yo, what's the problem, man? I'm like, yo, man, get the fuck away from my door. Bang! Slams the door, right? I'm pissed off because at the end of the day, he has his girl, big bro that is, and he got his kids. I don't knock on his door. I don't bother his girl. My girl wasn't doing anything with her, with him or none of that shit. You understand? I know that to be a fact. He's just trying to get some pussy. And I ain't gonna lie, I got a short man's complex. So I'm truly believing that this man is trying to take advantage of me, for real. Like he think I'm just, pussy. Cause he's bigger and I'm smaller, right? So, I ain't gonna lie. I knew this dude. I ain't know him like that, but I was cool with him or whatever. He bought, CDs and bootleg movies from me and all of that stuff from the spot. And we chit-chat here and there, and I knew what type of dude he was. So I went to him and I said, hey, yo, listen, I need to borrow a piece or whatever have you. He gives me the piece. I take the piece. I put it under the pillow of my couch. So when Big Bro comes up and be on some next shit with it, I know what to do. Now, I ain't no fucking tough guy, no shit like that. I'm just trying to protect me and mine. You understand? So a week goes by, nothing happens. I say to the dude that I'm cool with, I got the piece from, I'm like, yo, man, I'm gonna give it back to you. Ain't shit popping off. No need of me having it, right? So then one day, I get in the car with Yona. We go out. We go to Winston-Salem, hit a few barbershops, come back about 9 o'clock. We sitting in the parking lot, chit-chatting, right? Lo and behold, Big Bro comes out of nowhere. For real, I'm not even lying. Starts talking to Yona, right? I'm looking at him. I ain't paying him no attention or whatever. Then he starts saying some shit like, yo, that bitch ass motherfucker right there that's in the passenger seat. Excuse me. I'm like, cool, it's whatever. Then he keeps on going on and on and on. Then I'm like, yo, fuck you, motherfucker, this and that, so forth. He's like, so step out of the car. I'm like, all right, cool. We gonna duke it out. It ain't nothing. I get out of the car. I come around. It's not even a car. It's a van. I come around the van. He pulls out the gun, sticks it to my head. Let's stop right there. This is dedicated to all you Superman, Superwomen, part of the Marvel universe and MCU, DCU, you Superman, you Batman, DC Comics, you part of the X-Men. This Thanos, you got all of the motherfucking emeralds and all that shit. For all you motherfuckers that would say, this is what I would do, this is dedicated to you. Unless you've had a gun pointed to your head, you don't know what you would do. Unpause. So at that moment, when he stuck that gun to my head, I just froze. And next thing you know, if you ever seen these cameras that they had in the 40s and the 50s where they would take these pictures and then the flash would be like poof, like that, that's what I saw. I saw about 7 or 8 of them. And each time I saw that, it was that gun that still hit my face, and my lip was busted open, bottom lip, top lip, all of this was swollen. Right here is where I received 8 stitches. You know what I'm saying? It's the first time ever in my life that I was crawling to get away from somebody, because I was knocked the fuck out, and I couldn't get conscious, like I was drifting back and forth, because all of these blows was straight to my head. It's a miracle that my teeth weren't knocked out and none of that shit. My nose wasn't broken and none of that. I think it's because at the time that he was hitting me, I still had my arm up and shit like that. So to make the long story short, I'm thinking Yona is gonna get out the car to help me. Yeah, he ain't helped me. He helped break it up. That's it. Got rushed to the hospital. I had to get stitched up. You know what I'm saying? They gave me Motrin. They told me that the lip and all of this right here, it was busted open, but it didn't really need stitches, but it was still busted open. several days and especially nights, I had these big ass migraines. They gave me Motrin and Tylenol and all that shit and still couldn't ease the fucking pain. And then within those days, I still had to go out and hustle. I was terrorized by these motherfuckers because he did the damage. The dude did the pistol whipping, but it was still dudes that he knew. When I was at the spot and they would motherfucking be walking past me saying little slick shit, you know what I'm saying? And at that time, I only had a crowbar, that I would take with me, you know what I'm saying? And it was just crazy, and then I had a machete. It was just crazy shit. And I vowed to get that motherfucker back one way or the other. And then I say at least 2 weeks later, he wound up shooting a cab driver. I don't know if he killed him or whatever. And after that, he was locked up and I didn't hear nothing from him after that. More of the story is, man, stay away from negative people. Submerge yourself in people that are positive. Stay away from cults, such as the Nubian Nation. Stay away from negative neighborhoods. If you're young, you don't want to work for anyone, become an entrepreneur. If you're young and if you don't know what you want to do, get you a regular job for now. If you're young and you're open to furthering your education, go to college. You understand? Other than that, man, the streets it ain't worth it. I have regrets. I ain't gonna say every day, but I have regrets about my past. Because I don't have nothing to show for real. I wasted years of my life selling bootleg movies. I wasted years of my life out there fucking with different chicks that wasn't worth shit. And I ain't trying to be funny. I don't know where the broad is that I was fucking with at that point in time. But at that point in time, I don't know where she's at now. But at that point in time, she wasn't worth anything right then and there. She was just one of them broads. She was just a round-the-way girl. You know what I'm saying? You get high with her. You get drunk and all the rest of that shit. But you ain't trying to wipe the bitch up because she ain't about shit. Straight up. And I ain't talking about she ain't about shit like she fucking every dude. I'm talking about she ain't about shit because she don't have anything stored for her future. It wasn't like she was progressing. It wasn't like she was being productive. It wasn't like she was going to school. Straight up. Yona had a way out. Yona had a dream. And look where he's at right now. Despite whether he helped me out or not, he made it out of that situation. It was a possibility that night I might have not made it out of that situation. That at the end of the day, I'm glad that's all that dude did was pistol whip me and not pull that damn trigger and put a bullet in my head. Now I know what you all about to ask. Well, your current situation right now, now that you're matured, Langston, now that you're older and you have children, you have a family, now that you can legally carry a firearm and protect and defend yourself, now that you have several firearms, what would you do if you saw that dude in the streets right now? I would say this. I would really have mixed emotions. You understand? But the mature side of me would let it go. Let him be. Unless he posed a threat. Other than that, man, I got bigger fish to fry. Other than that, I have a life that I have to live. And, at this point in time in my life, man, I don't want no one to interfere and get in the way of that. See, y'all too caught up in this street cred. I'm not. When did it ever come to a point where it was uncool to be a regular dude? My father is a regular dude. He worked for transit. You understand? He busted his ass, he retired, and now he could travel the world. Now he can buy any car he wants to buy. He don't have no ops. And he lives in New York. He got a bank account. And he can tap that shit anytime he wants. He got, You know what I'm saying? Pensions. He can do whatever he fucking wants to do. And that's what I strive to be. Not so much of driving the bus, you know what I'm saying? But striving to be a regular person. Because when you're a regular person, man, you get to live a regular life. And shit don't have to end tragic. The way others have had their lives ended in the streets. So yeah, man, I hope this helped, the youth and as well as others, and if you want me to continue with these stories, man, I'll be more than happy to. Like I said before, and I say it again in the beginning of this video, leave a comment in the comment section whether you want me to continue, and I'll have a new story for you at least once to twice each week. Other than that, my name is Langston 292. I want you to like, comment, subscribe, definitely share this video.